Now, after she got here, and because like when we were kids coming up, and the houses that we lived in, you could just look right out and see the sky. And so some nights we'd get cold, and if we wake up the next morning, we tell Mama that we're cold. What she would do, she'd get right up and start on a quilt. And she used to make what we call breeches quilts, which would be made out of, like jeans and overalls and stuff that she done patched until she couldn't patch anymore. She never threw them away. And then she would take those and make blocks out of them and put them together. And they would be so heavy. Once she spread it over you, you didn't move, you stayed there, but you didn't sleep cold. So after she came to California, she made quilts. She made enough quilts at one time to pay her fare on a cruise to the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. She used to make king size, queen size, regular, singular. Then she got a purse snatched one year, and it messed up her shoulder. So the quilts were heavy for her to make. And by this time she's probably in her early 80s. Yeah, in her early 80s. So she got where she couldn't sew anymore, making the big quilts. So then she started making baby quilts, and we gave everybody that said that we're having a baby, she gave them a quilt. And then after she couldn't make the baby quilts anymore, she started just making little blocks like this. She's in her 90s now. Okay, she just stopped doing this just a few years ago. And the only reason she stopped is because her eyesight's bad. She wants to do it now, but she just can't see well enough to do it. So she make little blocks like this and give them to people and tell them to frame it. So she made this one. She said, that looks kind of pretty. I think I'm going to keep it for myself. When Daddy would buy flour, it would be in 25-pound sacks, and they would have print. It wouldn't be a paper sack, it would be printed cotton. And I guess probably about a yard in one once it was opened up. And so if Daddy went to the store, and he'd buy 25 pounds of flour, because it took a lot of flour, And he'd come with a new pattern, and Mama would tell him, she says, she called him Mr. Chambers. I've never heard her call my daddy anything but Mr. Chambers, because he was like, when they got married, she was 17 and he was 34. So to her, it was Mr. Chambers. And he lived to be, 98? Daddy was about 98 when he passed. But anyway, she would have him when he'd go buy another 25-pound sack of flour, to try and find that same pattern. And then she would take that pattern, the fabric, when she got enough, because she had her children in sets of 3 boys and 2 girls, 3 boys and 2 girls. So Bonnie, we were the oldest, so the oldest girls. So Daddy would get the flour sacks, and then we could tell her, we could go someplace and see a little girl with a dress on and how it was made, and we could come home and describe that dress to Mama. And she would take those flour sacks, and she'd sit down, and she would make that dress for us. Mm-hmm. And she made all of our panties and slips and yep. And it was quite an experience. At the time, we didn't realize what a hardship it was until we got older. And her health was always so bad, and she used to tell us all the time that she didn't think she'd live to see us get grown, and she didn't want to split up if something should happen to her. And me being the oldest girl, she wanted me to keep the kids together and everything. So we always tell her she's just so blessed, because every last one of her children are now senior citizens. She does not have not one that's not a senior citizen. Well, she taught me to cook when I was little. I was just big enough to stand up on a box or something like that, and she would put the seasoning in the bread or whatever, because the food that we ate really was not a whole lot of fancy stuff. And so she would, like the greens or whatever we were cooking, she was cooking. She would just put the seasoning in, but I would help prepare, and cooked it like that's how we cooked it. So it was, 'Cause like a lot of times coming up, that's a little hard. There was no food. There were certain things she didn't like to eat, like watermelon, and that was one time we had nothing but watermelon. And she didn't, we worried about that. We said, oh Lord, mama, mama, what's mama gonna do, 'cause we took really good care of her. After we got big enough and it was so hard for her, we kept her out of the field. We wouldn't let her go to the field because she was like, the babies were all 2 years apart. And so we worked extremely hard to keep her out of the field. Mama, tell them about some of the things, like when you used to, tell about the time you went and washed something the lady paid you.
Well, when I got home that night, I washed for the lady, and she gave me a syrup can of flour. And so I was thinking I go home, I would cook some hot biscuits for our supper that night. And my sister-in-law, which is passed on, they had killed hogs, and they had sent me a mess of the fresh meat, liver, and all everything like that. And I opened up the bucket, get ready to make me some biscuits. Big old ball of raw dough. And it did like yesterday. It was old. That's what she paid me. I never went back to wash for her no more. I did a lot of washing, but that beat it all. So I never went back to her to wash anymore. Every time she wanted me to come, I always had some kind of excuse. I didn't say nothing to her about it, and everything like it was. I always try to be an easygoing person, and I didn't want to disturb and upset nothing, So I went, one white woman wanted me to come and clean up her kitchen for her. You'd be surprised to know what she paid me when I did the kitchen. Cleaned up her kitchen, washed up everything, mopped the floor and all. At that time, you could get a box of soda for 5 cents. That's true.
And that's what she paid.
Soda? What
She
you
paid you
we
with a
had
box of
baking
soda.
soda. That's all. She gave me a box of baking soda.
You done worked all day.
Yeah, for cleaning up the kitchen.
Washing the walls.
Yeah, and then another lady, when old Joe fertilizer came in, it started making it what they called Old Joe. It had a black person's face on it, just as black as it could be. And this white lady, she wanted me to wash it. They had got a hold of 7 sacks of those, but they just started putting out fertilizer like that. And got me to come and wash the sacks. And she wanted me to wash them, not till it was plumb. I washed them 7 sacks all day long. I'd wash them, and then I'd put them in the pot and boil them, and all of this. It was hard. Some of them you just couldn't get it out. It was in there, and you couldn't get it out. And this is the truth.